Shalom, brothers, sisters, family, and friends. Once again, this is another awesome lesson on tonight. I am your host, Shabar Judah Israel, and the topic of discussion is to explain the stranger in Numbers 1 and 51. When Numbers 1 and 51 mentions, and when the tabernacle set it forth, the Levites shall take it down. And when the tabernacle is pitched, the Levites shall set it up. And the stranger that cometh near shall be put to death. Numbers 1 and 51. Now, I'm going to expound in terms who are the stranger in Numbers 1 and 51. And this is pretty much easy. I can't say that for many other brothers and sisters, but for me, this is pretty much easy. So I'm going to expound so you guys can see clearly concerning the stranger in Numbers 1 and 51. That stranger is talking about an Israelite, guys. It's not talking about other nations outside of the house of Israel. That stranger is an Israelite, okay? Now, why does it say stranger in Numbers 1 and 51? Because if you are a Hebrew Israelite, we know that then you derive from the seed of Israel. So to be an Israelite is to be a descendant, whether you man, woman, or child, of the progenitor Israel, also known as Jacob. His name was Jacob before he became Israel. So if you are Israelites, you are a descendant of Jacob. And who are the Israelites of today in the here and now? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. According to the biblical prophecies, you are the chosen seed and the people of the Bible. And so in Numbers 1 and 51, when it mentions strangers, I don't want you guys to run with this thinking that the strangers in Numbers 1 and 51 is talking about heathens. It's talking about Gentiles, because it's not. Numbers 1 and 51 is not talking about biological Gentiles or biological heathens, biological blood Gentiles and heathens. That's not what Numbers 1 and 51 is talking about when in terms of the stranger. So it's not talking about the white man who are the Edomites. It's not talking about the Arabs who are the Ishmaelites. It's not talking about the Chinese who are the Moabites. It's not talking about the Japanese who are the Ammonites. It's not talking about Ethiopians who are the Cushites. It's not talking about the Mizraimites who are the Egyptians. It's not talking about North Africa, which are the Libyans. You know, it's Somalia. It's not talking about North Africans. Neither is it talking about South Africans, Canaanites. It's not talking about the Javanites, you know, or any other biological blood descendant of a Gentile. It's not talking about that in Numbers 1 and 51. So please, I want you guys to eliminate that out of your minds, eradicate that out of your minds. If you think in Numbers 1 and 51, it's talking about biological blood, Gentiles, and heathens. Numbers 1 and 51 is talking about Israelites in terms of them being a stranger. Now, why was they considered to be a stranger in Numbers 1 and 51? I'm going to break it down to you real proper. Because let's go back up to Numbers 1 and 47, and we will get some over-entering understanding. Numbers 1 and 47. But the Levites, after the tribe of their fathers, were not numbered among them. So this is all in terms of the Levites, right? Numbers 1 and 48. For the Lord, Yahweh, has spoken to Moses, saying, Numbers 1 and 49, only thou shalt not number the tribe of Levi, neither take the sum of them among the children of Israel. So it is still talking about the tribe of Levi. We know that the nation of Israel consists of how many tribes? 12 tribes. And out of those 12 tribes, it's talking about Levi. Numbers 1 and 50. So we can see so forth, staying within the context, it's talking about the tribe of Levi. Numbers 1 and 50, but thou shalt appoint the Levites over the tabernacle. So who did the Most High appoint over the tabernacles? Who did the Most High appoint to fulfill that office? The Levites. But thou shalt appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of testimony, and over all the vessels thereof, and over all things that belong to it. They shall bear the tabernacle and all the vessels thereof, and they shall minister into it, and shall encamp round about the tabernacle. So, guys, the Levites was appointed to handle the tabernacle and everything that pertained to it. The Levites pitched around the tabernacle. They were the only ones that can pitch around the tabernacle. The rest of the 11 tribes, they couldn't do that. Numbers 1 and 51. And when the tabernacle set it forward, the Levites shall take it down. See? So, and when the tabernacle is to be pitched, the Levites shall set it up. And the stranger that cometh near shall be put to death. So Numbers 1 and 51. When the tabernacle set it forward, the Levites shall take it down. So who was in charge of putting up and taking down the tabernacle? The Levites. If a stranger, in terms of an Israelite, if he came near and tried to fulfill that office, he was put to death. So why does it say stranger? Why does it say stranger in number 1 and 51? Because, guys, it's not talking about the biological Gentiles or the biological heathens outside of Israel. I'm going to explain. So let me clarify. The reason why I say stranger, because if you was not a Levite, if you was not a descendant of Aaron, the brother of Moses, if you was not a Levite, a descendant of Aaron, and if you did not fulfill that Levitical office, you was looked at as a stranger. You see, there are 12 tribes within the nation of Israel, but all the tribes are not Levites. You have one tribe, the tribe of Levi, okay, that are known as the Levites. And all the other 11 tribes, they are not Levites. So all the other 11 tribes that are non-Levites, they would be considered strangers to the Levitical office. So if you was not a Levite and you did not fulfill that Levitical office in terms of setting up the tabernacle and taking down the tabernacle, in terms of the services, if you was not put in charge, being a Levite, all the other 11 tribes, they were looked at as strangers. Okay, guys. So once again, you had to be a Levite in order to carry out the tabernacle services. And if you was not a Levite and you was from the other 11 tribes, you was looked at as a stranger. So Numbers 1 and 51 don't have anything to do with the biological blood Gentiles or heathens. Okay? Numbers 1 and 52. And the children of Israel shall pitch their tents, every man by his own camp, and every man by his own standard, throughout their hosts. Numbers 1 and 53. But the Levites, guys, shall pitch around about the tabernacle of testimony. So the only tribe that can pitch around the tabernacle of testimony was the Levites. Any other tribe tried to pitch around the tabernacle, they was put to death. Any other tribe outside of the tribe of Levi tried to set up and take down the tabernacle of services, they was put to death. So once again, if you did not fulfill that Levitical priesthood office in terms of carrying out tabernacle services, you was looked at as a stranger. All the other 11 tribes was looked at as strangers. Why? Because they was not Levitical priests. Okay, guys. Numbers 1 and 53. But the Levites shall pitch around about the tabernacle of testimony, that there be no wrath upon the congregation of the children of Israel. And the Levites shall keep the charge of the tabernacle of testimony. And that's Numbers 1 and 53. So, guys, why did it say in Numbers 1 and 53, but the Levites shall pitch around about the tabernacle of testimony, and that there be no wrath upon the congregation of the children of Israel. Because let me tell you something, guys. If the Most High caught a non-Levite dealing with the tabernacle services, his wrath would come upon the whole nation of Israel. Okay? So this is why I said that in Numbers 1:53. And the Levites shall keep the charge of the tabernacle of testimony. Numbers 1:53 says, But the Levites shall pitch around about the tabernacle of testimony, that there be no wrath upon the congregation of the children of Israel. So if you was not a Levite, and you was from the other 11 tribes, and you was not a Levite, and the Most High caught you trying to fulfill the Levitical office, if the Most High caught a non-Levite trying to fulfill that office, dealing with the tabernacle of services, his wrath will come upon Israel as a whole, and he will punish Israel. That's why it says that. Numbers 1:54. And the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord Yahweh commanded Moses. And so they did. So guys, like I said, that's the strangers in Numbers 1:51. That stranger right there is not talking about, I wish I could highlight it. That strangers in Numbers 1:51 is not talking about biological Gentiles or heathen. It's talking about Israelites, guys. They were strangers. They were strangers to the Levitical priesthood office. If you was not a Levite to the Levitical priesthood office in the tabernacles of services, you was looked at as a stranger. But it's still an Israelite, guys. So, yeah. Other Israelite tribes could not pitch around the tabernacle. They had to pitch away from the tabernacle. And that can be also viewed in Numbers 2:2. All right. That's why in Numbers 1:52 it says the children of Israel shall pitch their tents, every man by his own count. They couldn't pitch their tents around the tabernacle, because if they tried to do that, then death came upon them. Let me show you in Numbers 2:2. So let me show you in the book of Numbers chapter 2 verse 2. All right. Watch this, guys. Numbers 2:2. I'm going to show you this. Numbers 2:2. In Numbers 2:2 it says, every man of the children of Israel shall pitch by his own standard with the ensign of their father's house. Far off about the tabernacle of the congregation shall they pitch. Why? Because if the other 11 tribes tried to pitch around the tabernacle, they would be put to death, man. Most High anger will come upon them. So, yeah, man. Any other Israelites, like I said, if you were not a Levite, you couldn't approach the tabernacle. You couldn't pitch around the tabernacle. You couldn't erect the tabernacle. You couldn't stand up the tabernacle. You couldn't take down the tabernacle. If you was not a Levite, you was looked at as a stranger because you was not a Levite. Okay? You was looked at as a stranger. However, you still an Israelite. You just not a Levite. So you was looked at as a stranger. Any other Israelite, guys, was considered a stranger. So if you didn't fulfill that Levitical priesthood office and you came from the other 11 tribes, you was looked at as a stranger. So I hope I explained that well, guys. Until next time, peace and much love and respect. Share the video, guys, with others. Teach, reach, preach, you know, guys, and do what's necessary to bring in the lost sheep of the house of Israel, which are blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans. Once again, it's been a pleasure, guys. Until our next edition, we say shalom.